Nobel laureates to designers of royal recipes, former British prime ministers, and famous authors. Everybody is here at the Jaipur Literature Festival. But today we're in conversation with four young and upcoming authors. It's their debut novel, and what better place to debut than at the Literature Festival? Well, I have with me, let me start with Nayantara Violet Alva. Nayantara, if you can show your book and tell us a little bit about it, and how does it feel to be here? You're also someone who's looking at adaptation, cinema. So are you planning to put Liberal Hearts onto the OTT platform?
So, my book is a coming of age drama romance set in a fictional liberal arts university, and it's about a boy from the village of Atharva, which is in rural Haryana, and this girl who is studying at this very elite, prestigious liberal arts college called Maurya College of Liberal Arts. And it's kind of like how they both experience the exact same pin code in very different ways, and how they, sort of enable major character arcs in each other's lives out of virtue of meeting and challenging each other's notions about privilege, about class, about who they are as people, about their identities, about their ambitions. And so yeah, that's what the book is about. And coming from my TV OTT background, of course it's a very dramatic book, and it runs almost like an episodic, all the chapters.
Okay.
And yes, I definitely am hoping that it gets adapted soon. There are some conversations happening, but nothing is final yet, of course. So yeah. that's all.
Nantara, be sure to let us know when it is, because as you know, we are all hooked to OTT. And but again, I can see autobiographical streaks here. Now, I won't give away where Maurya came from and where she studied, but it's interesting that even for this young generation, I think they're all in their 20-somethings. Caste is very, very important. And so, for example, even just to go to you. Lavleena, if I were to address that question to you, Anisha, that caste is very important. I mean, it's interesting that she talks about two people from diametrically opposed castes, and your novel is also based on a very sensational killing, but at the heart is the caste dynamics.
Yes, so at the heart of it is my book is a thriller, basically. It's set up as a thriller. And as you said, it's the thriller aspect or the crime aspect is based on the Nithari case, which was in 2006. It is also the Noida serial murders, where a bunch of poor kids from a slum nearby, their bodies were found in the backyard of this very wealthy man's house. So I have taken that case and I have fictionalized it. And it's about this young woman who inadvertently gets involved in those murders. And then nothing happens for a long time, which is what happened in that case, right? Where the parents, they tried to file FIRs, their kids went missing. They went to the police station and they kept trying to file FIRs, but the cops just dismissed them because they were poor. And so nothing happens in the case, and then nothing happens in the book. And the girl gets involved in those murders, nothing happens, and there's a increasing sense of anxiety and tension and guilt. So that's the direction my novel takes. Yeah.
But like we were saying, another novel, which is yours, Atharva, which is again based on real life crime that has happened. Across. I mean, the thing that I can see in common in all of you in some senses is the caste dynamics of modern day India somewhere. It's definitely the subtext of the novel or the context of the novel. And then these very violent crimes. Why are people like you who perhaps did not, you saw it, you probably read of it in a newspaper, you didn't go and report on it like some of us did. Why this fascination with these kind of events?
Well, that's a question I've been asking myself, and that's so. In order to answer that question, I wrote the book, but I still haven't answered that question. I don't think so. What fascinates? Yeah, so my book is about a real life incident which happens in Bhandara, Maharashtra. Three minor sisters were raped and killed. Their bodies were found floating in a well. And the book is about that. I mean, it's a true crime book, but it fictionalizes the events. So and caste played a major role in the village, in the setting where this happened, and perhaps even why this happened to them. As for why we are as writers obsessed or fascinated by this aspect, I don't know, but perhaps because it's an everyday reality of India and everyday reality of how we live and where we live.
Rupleena, since you are a professor of English, and of course it's your book also, so if you can just show that for TV, that's the book that she's written. But Rupleena, I'm going to ask you something apart from what you have written about, because you're talking about you're teaching creative writing also. We have 4 young authors, including yourself, and you're of course teaching creative writing. You know, now that we see there was an entire canon that we studied, which was Indian writing in English, and now there's so much. So you started with Atiya Hussain and so on and so forth, and now it's such a pleasure to meet young people, who are writing so well in the Indian horizon. And like we were saying, a lot of them are also looking at the things which could be adapted on OTT, because that's another great platform. So do you feel somewhere that Indian writing has come of age, grown up, and gone beyond?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you talk about the classics, Atiya Hussain, and till the present. And I actually think that lot many more people are writing now. Earlier, we would teach literature, and we would, in a way, encourage them to do your PhDs and be critics. And I'm not a critic as such. I mean, I'm actually also a writer. So I think more and more people are now looking at expressing themselves, and I think that is wonderful, because expression is like everything. Getting a voice is everything. So more than getting joining the bandwagon of talking about other books, people are actually talking about the things that they could not talk about, And in a way, some of them, my story is also about somebody, a young girl wanting to be a writer as well, and 1 decade in the life of the nation. But talking about young people, another thing I would say, definitely OTT platform is, you have some sort of hope. You know that it's not just like a, like writing, which doesn't, which is a struggle. You know that there's a target audience. There'll be people watching your story. It will come alive. And I think that's a huge incentive for a young person.
Great. So very gripping stories here, 4 young authors. Anisha's story is a very gripping one. It's also, by the way, a little bit about living in Delhi and, that love-hate relationship that people have with Delhi. Well, wishing you all the very best and hoping that some of you are going to make it to the OTT platform because they're very gripping stories. And like we said, that's another medium for. Thank you so much for this chat with NDTV.